Wall's history. What you see behind me is a celebration of this new policy announced today by the East German government that now, for the first time since the wall was erected in 1961, people will be able to move through freely.
Tom Brokaw in 1989 providing the only live network coverage of the fall of the Berlin Wall. The wall stood for 28 years as a symbol of the Cold War, the visible fault line between East and West. Its fall 20 years ago tomorrow signaled the dawn of a new era. Tonight, Tom is back in Berlin with a look at how things are now.
20 years ago, one of the most dramatic nights of the 20th century.
Men and women atop the wall tonight, hammer and chisel, taking it down.
Piece by piece, this sinister symbol of oppression which divided Berlin for almost 3 decades came apart. And as it did, the Cold War was all but over. East Berliners were allowed unrestricted travel to the West, some of them for the first time.
I remember all people were so glad and so happy. It was unbelievable what's happened there.
Today, just a few pieces of concrete are the only evidence of the divide which kept millions of East Berliners prisoner and threatened death to anyone trying to escape.
This is the memorial line to the Berlin Wall.
It is the job of historian Fabian Ruger to explain to tourists what life was like.
Once people understand that it was actually an isolated island which was just hanging from a thread protected by British, French, and American troops stationed there, then they get the point of how difficult it actually was.
Ruger's assignment is made more difficult because much of the city's dark history now has been painted over or demolished.
Now, the few pieces that we have, like the one you see behind me here, has to be protected, ironically, by an iron fence built around it to keep people from chipping pieces off to take it with them.
I think art is a very good way to make people communicate.
Katja Tannert is helping to build a symbolic Berlin Wall. Created by international artists, this wall will fall like dominoes, commemorating the 20th anniversary. Although Tannert was only 11 when the real wall came down, the change still has been tough.
From one day to the other, you get the freedom, and no one teaches you how to take this freedom and how it is to take decisions and to be responsible for your own life. Suddenly it changes.
Is that still an adjustment for you?
Yes, it is. Every day.
Dignitaries and heads of state from around the world have arrived in Berlin ahead of Monday's formal ceremonies. Mikhail Gorbachev, then the president of what was the Soviet Union, also will be at Brandenburg Gate, the same place where President Ronald Reagan gave Gorbachev an unmistakable message.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
20 years after the fall of the Wall of Berlin, we're sitting here in an elegant hotel in what was East Germany. This part of Central Europe has changed enormously. Your country has changed. There are still many difficulties, but what encourages you most?
There are people who believe that during transitions, democracy can be a hindrance, that freedom can be a hindrance, that what we need is an iron hand, a firm hand. I don't think so. What encourages me, what inspires me, is that people are beginning to understand.
Understanding takes time, as Fabian Ruger knows. It is the reason why he will not stop trying to keep the memory of what was a dark and deadly Berlin Wall fresh in the minds of those who have forgotten or simply don't know. Tom Brokaw, NBC News, Berlin.
More of Tom's reporting tomorrow night. And by the way, you can see the night the wall came down. We've posted the entire nightly news broadcast from 20 years ago on our website, nightly.msnbc.com.